if the reports about the activity of IRS personnel prove to be true, he would find them outrageous, and he would expect that appropriate action be taken and that people be held responsible. He has no tolerance for targeting of specific groups, conservative groups, if the reporting is true on this, and he would expect action to be taken.
And in the wake of those comments, Attorney General Eric Holder has opened a criminal investigation into the IRS and its targeting of conservative groups. Also, the government watchdog's report that ignited the IRS scandal has been released. Good morning and welcome to the News Hub. I'm Rolf Winkler. Wall Street Journal's Siobhan Hughes has taken a look at that report, and she joins us this morning. How you doing, Siobhan?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You guys have been burning the midnight oil on this story, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much since last Friday.
Okay, I want to take viewers through quickly just a list of some of the findings from the government watchdog's report. It said, and we knew some of this from Friday, that inappropriate criteria were used to target Tea Party groups, 9/12 groups, stuff like that. Unnecessary information was gathered from groups. They were asked to answer questions that were inappropriate, and there was really insufficient oversight at the IRS of these folks in Cincinnati, I suppose, who are doing this. Now, I want to ask you, paint a picture for me of a specific group, perhaps, and how they were targeted. Just make this real for people.
Sure. So, for example, there's a group out in Waco, Texas, that described submitting their application and getting a bunch of questions back. There was one group in Kentucky, for example, that got 88 questions back. This was around early 2012. And it's things like, who are your donors? What is your place of employment? For every officer and director, what is your political affiliation? And the list goes on and on and on. And the groups are told they have 2 weeks to respond. It's very costly. Everyone has to hire auditors to do this. These are small mom and pop organizations. They don't really have the manpower, the time to put into these efforts. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, it makes it harder to fundraise. Donors are concerned that maybe their identities will be revealed. And it's a really difficult experience for people.
Okay, so Siobhan, in effect, what we had here was a whole bunch of applications that were delayed for a long period. How many were delayed, and how many were conservative groups?
What we know is of the universe that the Inspector General looked at, about 30% of all the applications that wound up in this special bucket that got extra scrutiny were Tea Party, were conservative groups. But when you looked at a statistical sample, the Inspector General looked every single group that had the name Tea Party, Patriot, 9/12 Project got reviewed. Not a single one of them went through the more expedited process that's available when there's no sign of any political or campaign activity.
Was anyone denied their application or just held up? And in being held up, was that effectively a denial?
I have not seen, and the Inspector General did not lay out any denial, but there were delays, some of which are ongoing. Some have gone on for more than 3 years, okay, or have been delayed through 2 election cycles.
Okay, now, how many applications do they get per year for these types of groups?
What we're talking about now really are these 501c4 organizations. And what the IRS has said is that between 2010 and 2012, the number of these applications doubled to somewhere around 3,600. And in trying to process all of these, they mishandled and then kind of handled this in a very ham-handed way.
So I want to ask, given that it's, well, actually, I want to change the subject here a little bit. We don't actually have any idea who was responsible, do we?
That really did not come out in the TIGTA report. The very first reference you see is about around March 2010, when a manager in the Cincinnati office asks one of the specialists, hey, can you look out for these Tea Party cases? And there winds up being a very big dialogue actually between the Cincinnati office and the Washington headquarters office about how these cases are to be handled. But we really don't know who came up with these criteria. In fact, the Inspector General said it just couldn't determine that. It seemed like an amalgam of ideas all the specialists had come up with. There's a lot we still really don't know.
Criminal investigation now we're talking about. What might be criminal here? Is that just the Obama administration trying to look tough?
Eric Holder hasn't said specifically what statutes he thinks potentially could have been violated. The Obama administration certainly has an incentive to look tough on this issue. It's created a real firestorm, and instead of the issue dying down and being quelled as the days go on, it's only gotten worse, and the clash is probably going to culminate on Friday when the acting commissioner of the IRS goes to testify before a House panel.
Okay, Siobhan Hughes from Washington, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will have more on the IRS scandal throughout the day, so stay with WSJ Live and WSJ.com.